Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. You know Charles Alvarez. He's a regular feature here on The Price of Business each week, bringing us some great stories about business on the front lines. He's a phenomenal entrepreneur, sales consultant, sales coach, has worked with my company, and we can attest to great results, and I'm always delighted for when he joins us here on the program. Charles, welcome today, and tell us a little bit more about Cornerstone Business Academy, which you can find at cornerstonebusinessacademy.com, and your guest before us here today. She's been a friend of the program as well. We've met before. Go right ahead.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, I'm the president and CEO of Focal Point International, and what we do is we help businesses grow. And speaking of growing businesses, I am ecstatic to have Pamela McGlashen on our show today. Pam, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. Tell us your story. Give us your elevator speech, if you will.
Our elevator speech.
Yeah.
Well, Orion Real Estate Services, Allied Development. We are the second largest property management company in Houston, as well as a very large developer. So we do fee-managed property management, and then we also build our own large apartment communities throughout the city.
Very good. Go right ahead, Charles.
So tell us, what are the challenges that you're seeing out there in the marketplace, and how does your company from a project management or from a property management and development side address those challenges?
There are a few challenges right now, certainly from the resident side. Obviously, escalating rent is a very big challenge for our renter. Finding land at affordable rates for our developers is a big challenge. A lot of people coming in the city and the state of Texas to buy big apartment communities. And so it's kind of a crazy, crazy time. No vacancies. Mm-hmm. One of the first times in 32 years of doing this, I've never seen a market like this before.
So I know that there are a lot of property management firms out there, and there are also lots of developers as well. What makes y'all so good, and what makes y'all so unique that really gives you an edge over your competition?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think we were recently featured on a television show called The World's Greatest. And I really think what makes us different is that we handle so many different types of properties. So anywhere from the highest rents, $3,000 a month, down to affordable and some of the city's communities. So we do public housing as well as the highest.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Are you corporately located out of here?
We are.
Wow, that's amazing. But you're also in other parts of the country?
We are. We are now in 9 states. Recently just opened our new office in Atlanta, so we're hitting the West Coast, East Coast, and kind of every place in between.
Very cool.
Great.
Charles?
So kind of give us an idea of how you go about, let's take, for example, residential or maybe even apartments. You can kind of pick one. How do you go about making sure that you're collecting rents, making sure that the utility bills are being paid, making sure that all of the mechanical equipment at the facility or the house is being done correctly? Because I know that a lot of property managers say they're property managers, but don't do a very good job of it, and they still want their 3%. So tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Well, first off, it starts with the people on the site. I mean, we have exceptional site teams. We also have a great supervisory division of our company. So everybody is being watched at all times. I mean, that sounds like Big Brother. I don't mean it like that way, but we have supervisors who are out visiting and making sure the equipment, as far as maintenance supervisors, they're out there making sure and following up with the maintenance techs. I mean, it's so important that service is given to every resident. I mean, that's the number one reason we're here. I mean, without them, we have no company. We get no 3%.
Right.
Yeah.
And what would you tell all those, aspiring developers or even the developers now that say, why do I need a property management firm? I mean, I can just do this myself. I mean, how hard is it? All right, I just got to collect and then, call my AC guy. I mean, there's not that much to it, right?
Wow. I wish that was the case. I mean, first off, the guidelines that we're all required to abide by. I mean, fair housing regulations, number one, should be the first scary thing that any person who's trying to manage on their own should be very fearful of. Especially now. I mean, we see, all the training that goes into making sure that it's not just your management team who has to understand these federal laws, but it's all the way to your maintenance staff. So it's very difficult for an individual to really understand all of the things that go into it. I mean, from the accounting side, making sure that, their income taxes are correct, that they're paying all their taxes correctly, to the day-to-day stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's a big job.
Let me ask you, so fundamentally, do many businesses try to manage it themselves for a certain period of time before they finally break down to contact a company like you? Do they buy into this delusion that there is only a couple things to do before they give in and say, this isn't going to work?
Yes, I think, especially the new time owner, somebody who may be buying 50 units or 75 units may think, oh, this is easy. I can do this myself. And usually within a year or so, we hear from them. Whether it be myself or another counterpart who does some smaller property management, we'll hear from them and say, this is too much. They get that first notice from saying, hey, someone's filed a discrimination suit. Now, what do I do?
Right.
Or they have a big insurance claim and some catastrophe happens and they realize that it's a whole lot more to it than just collecting rent with curlers in the hair like the old.
So kind of give us an idea. What are some of those things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis that just because, a guy wants to invest in real estate because that's the latest trend, that they don't realize, okay, do you realize how much time and how much detail is involved in this process to where they'd be idiotic not to hire a management company such as yourself?
Well, truly understanding the market and understanding where their rent should be. That's the biggest thing.
Huge.
Most of the smaller owners leave a lot of money on the table. Mm-hmm. Whether they're not understanding how to, escalate rents, whether they don't understand how to handle renewals correctly, and more importantly, when they don't have buying power to purchase things and materials for their property. That's where they really can save a lot of money going to a bigger firm. And
so you're not just hey, we'll collect, hey, we'll get your service people out here to, fix the refrigerator and the toilet. You really take a proactive look on how can we maximize the value of this property.
Absolutely.
So you're a value add. You're not just an expense.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I actually think companies like yours is a liability assistant in the liability as well, because if something does happen, like a suit, you bring an entire history plus documentation to kind of things that a guy who's trying to do it on his own simply doesn't have the capacity to bring.
And they do get into a lot of trouble, and it's and we're always there to help them, get out of it once they get into it. But it's a tough one to get out of once you're into any type of a fair housing violation.
Pam, what's the best website for people to check out?
www.allied-orion.com.
Yeah, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
And, of course, you can learn more about our regular guest here, our regular contributor, Charles Alvarez, at cornerstonebusinessacademy.com. And I want to thank you for bringing your niece, Brooke, to join us here in the studios today. And although we didn't have her on the air, she has been a delight and did a great job of just being a kid here in our studios. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here will show up over there at usdailyreview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter. I'm Kevin Price. This is The Price of Business.